This is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast is called Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. And the spiritual immersion process is the incremental walking the walk of what you believe is true, what you say is true, and what you want to be true in terms of life without fear, life with love, life with wholeness, life with abundance, life with peace, life with calm and beauty and serenity. If that's what you want, this particular podcast series is for you. And I know that there's others out there too that are other podcasts that would be valuable to you. So this one is to help you, empower you to walk the walk, to take the steps, to incrementally slow down and be aware of how you are being in this process. In a sense, every single one of us on the planet, or kindredness, there's a kindredness because we are all walking this walk, especially in this time. We're in the coronavirus period of time right now. And so everybody on the planet is experiencing some element of existentialism, if you will, because we exist, because we are humans, because we are mortal, because we can die, because we can lose, because there is loss and pain and suffering in the world. We are each we're in a kindred process of saying, who am I in here? What choices can I make? How powerful am I? How empowered am I? How powerless am I? How do I live in this moment? How do I live in the world, in my reality? And how am I going to make this up? So each of us has that orientation. Every single one of us, every 8 billion of us, if you can imagine. And for me, that there's something really sacred about that, knowing that each and every one of us, regardless of our color, regardless of our state of poverty or wealth, regardless of our religion, our culture, where we live in the world, each and every one of us are kindred in this process of being, questioning our humanness and our humanity and what that all means for us. A number of months ago, I work with a woman. Her name is Elizabeth Sabat, and Elizabeth Sabat is an amazing. She does energy clearing, among other things, and so if you're wanting energy clearing, I really highly recommend contacting Elizabeth Sabat to do that work. So I've been working with her a long time, and it's very, very, very helpful in that, and this is a big part of spiritual immersion process, is being able to be aware of the clutter and elements of life that I don't have control over, that may come in with ancestors, or it may be influenced by entities or energies or elements of life that I'm not aware of, but other people are. So one of the great benefits of working with someone like Elizabeth is that she can clear stuff in ways that I have no capacity to do. And in that process, then I become more empowered to do what I can do. So it's like going, to any health practitioner who can help supplement or empower you through whatever they do. And then I'm more empowered because I don't have all that clutter in the way. I don't have these old patterns or patternings in the way. So that's really important, and I'm going to talk more about that in the next podcast about clearing and stuff. But one of the things that came up was, she said, "Okay, Rosie, here's your mantra. I am responsible for my own life. I am responsible for my own life." And I know when I've shared that with other people in my groups, I have an aging group and a group that we talk about aging. I say, okay, you're responsible for your own life. Can you say that? I'm responsible for my own life. And everybody moans and groans. We don't want, I just think it's so funny. I'm no different. I didn't want to have to say that. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to have to say it. But in saying it over and over, a few times a day, something shifted in me, because I began, even though I say this to other people, as part of life coaching, the accountability piece is really important. If I'm working with a client and they want a particular outcome, we have to look at what they're doing. It's raining right now, so if you're hearing a noise, it's the rain coming down. If a person wants a particular outcome and they're not getting that outcome, and we begin to distinguish what they're doing or how they're thinking, what their interpretations are, that limits that outcome, they become accountable for making choices so that those limitations can go away and then they can have what they want. Accountability and responsibility is foundational. It's self-empowerment, right? That we talked about in the previous podcast. And there's this piece of responsibility. I am responsible for my own life. Now, so many of us want to blame other people or say, well, it's my mother's fault or my father's fault, or it's the government's fault, or it's the religion that I grew up in. We can point the finger to all of these different conditions that we were raised in. And up to a point, we were trained and we chose based on perspectives so that we would survive and that we would maybe be happy within those contexts. But if we want something different, then we're responsible for bringing about the changes that need to happen so that we can have those shifts. So in my training, my coach training, I share 4 questions. And these are the 4 questions I ask. And I think I've mentioned this earlier in the podcasts, that there's 4 questions I ask. Number 1 is, what do you want? And people say, well, I want freedom, or I want clarity, or I want focus. It's like, well, what will you have when you have clarity and focus? Well, I'll be calm, I'll relax. Those kinds of questions. Okay, second question. What's in the way of you having that calm, clarity, and focus? What's in the way? And people will say, oh, well, I'm thinking this way, and, I'm blaming my mother, and I'm resistant to changing the way that I see things, and I don't like to have to do things I don't want to do. So they list a whole bunch of obstacles that keep them from having what they want. So in essence, they're calling me, they're paying me to help them get what they want, and at the same time they say, I don't want to do that. And it's like, okay. Third question, what needs to shift so that you can have what you want? Here's what you want. Here's the obstacles in the way, and what needs to shift. And they say, well, I have to shift how I'm seeing this so that I am willing to do the discipline. I am willing to change the way I'm thinking. I have to shift the way that I'm seeing this. I have to stop blaming other people. I have to stop seeing myself as a victim of my past and start owning my life today. That's a big deal, to start owning my life today. And then the fourth question is, what will you practice to support you owning your life today? And there's a number of practices, generally noticing and cultivating awareness of how you're not being accountable for your life today. Those kinds of things. So the point of this is that in the process of coaching, my clients have to be willing to be accountable for the choices that they're making. Does that mean that they're accountable 100%? No. Does that mean that there's perfection in and that they're making great progress very quickly? No. But it means being accountable and responsible for the choices they're making, and no longer imposing that on their past or on other people or on the environment or on the political system. It's really about owning, I am responsible for my own life. And I started out by saying that when I started doing that mantra, things started to shift for me because I could see where I still wanted to put the responsibility of my life onto somebody else. I really want to be dependent on somebody else. But the truth is, you can't do spiritual immersion if you're dependent on somebody else. You got to do it yourself. You've got to be responsible. And when I say I'm responsible for my own life, then I begin to go, oh, well, maybe that's why I've got these aches and pains in my heart that aren't going away, because I'm not being responsible for those. Or, I could list a list of how I'm not attending to what I need to be responsible for. And that could be, financial, it could be environmental, it could be all kinds of things, especially relational, and it's all relational. So my point in bringing this up is notice where, if you want to, you don't have to notice anything if you don't want to, but if you're curious about this process of being responsible, notice where you may want to distract or distract. I got distracted. My nose was itching. Notice where you may want to stay in victim. I don't want to stop being a victim. I feel safe here. It's what I know. I don't know how to not be a victim. I totally get that. I know I don't know how to be not a victim to the world. It's one of those things that we're taught how to be suppressed and oppressed. And it's really kind of hard to make a difference and make a shift in that. But that's how we begin to look at how we are not being responsible in our life and how we can begin to choose, I am responsible completely, 100%, for the degree to which I have openness and expansion to the prosperity and abundance of love and everything that the world has for me. I'm the one that's responsible for letting that in or letting it not in. So that's pretty much it for today. Just consider the possibility of that mantra. I am responsible for my own life. And just watch what happens. Watch you close the door on that or open it up or explore it further. It's all just an exploration. And, you might not be ready to take that on. And you go, I don't want to. And that's fine. There's no race here. We're not in a race to get there faster. Unless you say, I want to get there faster. In which case I'll say, what is it that what's in the way of you making progress that you want to make? That's the question. What's in the way of you making the progress you want to make? And how are you willing to how are you willing to be responsible for that choice of, I'm dragging my feet, and I drag my feet all over the place, and I'm learning how to look at that and be responsible for that and make the shifts necessary to keep going forward in my relationship with my spirit self. All right, that's it for today. If you'd like more information, you can find me at theparadigmshifts.com, my website. That's where you can find some blogs, videos, books, and whatever else you need. If you're looking for a coach training program, I coach individuals on a one-to-one, and this is a very good time perhaps if you're interested in coaching and looking at spiritual coaching, because a lot of people are needing spiritual coaching right now and are looking for it. All right, big hugs. Bye for now.